Test, test, check. Right on, and we're live. Give me 2 seconds here, guys, while I get everything sorted out, and then we're gonna get underway. If you'd like to come up on the panel and speak at any point here, for those of you just joining, please just send me a quick invite or a request, and I'll approve it, and we'll get going in just a few moments here. Great. All right. So before we start going here, make sure that you have shared and let basically reposted this stream or space and got this out to the world. Place a comment under the stream itself and help the algorithm to push out TORUS and Unity to others. Now, we have quite a bit to talk about today, and I'm going to start off in a moment or two here. Once I see a few more people rolling in with some stuff that's just happened around the buy and build, and the buy and build being turned up to 8%. So this is going to be a super bullish space, and I do only have about an hour. So I'm going to spend about 30 minutes talking about TORUS and Unity, and then I will allow for the last 30 minutes or so to be about the questions that you guys have at any point around TORUS and Unity. So let's start with Unity this time, because typically we start with TORUS, and today I want to start with Unity. Unity is looking actually very strong, and we are seeing a bunch of staking continue to occur. The stakes are trickling in, the shares are rolling up, and the ratio has been quite stable around the 42,782 to 1. So, as a precursor to this space, for everyone listening, this is going to be a space for those that are in the community. I'm not going to go too deep into what TORUS and Unity are in this space. If you want to learn that, go to my other spaces, go to my YouTube channel, and you can see a bunch of content there around what these protocols are and really how simple they are to use. So, Unity, though, is holding strong at 84, basically 85 cents. And in ratio terms, it's sideways. And what's interesting is if we look back to, August 18th when it launched, and we follow it down to where it began to sell off and cross over the creation and staking threshold, we will see that it crossed quite a bit sooner than TORUS. What's interesting, though, is it did that, and now it is stabilizing exactly as TORUS did. And we're seeing staking completely tick in. We're seeing the community, and we're seeing those that are participating actively staking a lot more than what we saw in the beginning of TORUS. And this is really cool because for those participating in Unity, to kind of get a glimpse into the future a little bit. Both these systems are different, and I don't want people that are in Unity to think that because TORUS is operating a certain way or settings are being changed a certain way, that is going to happen specifically for and to Unity. These are very different protocols and they require different measures, and they will perform just differently over time because of the community that they are built for, the tokens they are built on, and so on and so forth. So let's go to the DApp here. So if you want to follow along, go to UNITY.win, and we're going to talk about the statistics and what we're seeing here. So the creation page, the earn page, sorry, so unity.win/earn, the create ROI is still 1,831%. Whereas the staking, though, is 4,126. And again, this is because our ratio has gone about 58% lower than that median point where the creation ROI and the staking ROIs meet and are equal to one another. So again, what this means is that by taking a dollar and staking, or basically buying on the market, paying the fee required to stake, you will get significantly more shares, which is your earning capacity and therefore your ROI potential via staking right now versus creating. And this is really important to understand for, again, the system as a whole. When people are staking, there are no new tokens being created other than what is being earned within the Unity pool. And right now, if we go to the Unity chart, we can see that for every basically dollar or so, we are burning one Unity, just over 1.15 Unity. And if we come even lower, this is a supply control mechanism. Now, I haven't spoken about this for Unity specifically. I've typically just talked about it as an overarching, this is for TORUS and Unity, or just for TORUS, because we haven't really seen this environment happen quite yet for Unity, but we very well might. So I want to make everyone that is listening and is interested in Unity or is participating in Unity to understand this, that right now, if we go to the DApp and you look at the deposit amount versus the amount you are staking in Unity, you're going to see that it is 5 million PulseX, currently worth $100, and you are staking $817, basically $818 worth of Unity, and 956 tokens. So actually, do I have this right here? I think I do. But basically, this is not 5%. And if you have read the white paper, if you've seen me talking about it, I typically say, and everyone typically talks about 5% staking costs, right? Where does that come from? And in this space, I want to make sure that everyone finally gets it. 5% is not an arbitrary number of 5% of the USD value. When we think 5%, we're talking about 5% here. 5% has nothing to do with the dollar value, okay? In order to understand what the 5% is, we have to understand the ratio that Unity has to PulseX. When Unity first launched, the ratio that it launched with was 100,000 to 1 PulseX to Unity. Now, that means if you wanted to stake one Unity on day one, right, 1 to 100,000, that's the systemic ratio, meaning when you create, for every 100,000 PLSX you put in the system, you're going to create one Unity. So that means if you want to stake one Unity, you're going to pay 5,000 PulseX on day one to stake. Now, here's where things get weird and why people get confused, is that over time, there are difficulty mechanics in the system which make the fees go up even at that static ratio, at that median ratio that we talked about, the systemic ratio. But what happens is we have two tokens, right? Let's say we have one token costs 5,000 PulseX to stake, right? Well, those are just the tokens. Those don't have the USD values, but because they are two independent tokens, they can independently have different USD values. So when the dollar price or the ratio in price of Unity to PulseX is around that median point of 100,000 and a little bit higher now because we've had some time go on, the difficulty is increased. As the price is around that middle ratio, then, or even higher, then the USD value would actually be around 5%. However, if the ratio of PulseX to Unity declines, meaning Unity goes down in value against PulseX, this means the PulseX amount, let's say this 5 cents is worth $1, or the 5,000 PulseX is worth $1. Let's just to make it really simple, right? 5,000 PulseX is worth $1. And that dollar is 5% of, the Unity. So at this median ratio, we have $20 and we have $1. Or hold on, 20. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. So you'd have $1 fee to stake $20 in Unity. But if Unity goes down 50%, the tokens are still the same to stake, but now the value of the Unity has gone down from $20 to $10. So now it's 10% fee in USD terms just because of the way the system was designed. And this is intended so that when the price goes lower, the value of tokens that can be sold is less and less and less. And the amount of Pulse and PulseX that's brought into the system stays at a fixed rate and only increases over time, making it so that this ratio, so to speak, and a different ratio than the one we've already been talking about, but the ratio of funds coming in to value that can be sold on the backside of earning within the system is going in favor of tokens coming in, making the price chart harder to sell down, giving the system more stability over time. And this can change very quickly. Right now, if the price of Unity were to drop by 50%, we would see a significant increase in the relative dollar value cost of PulseX versus the the value of Unity that you're staking. And this is by design. But what's interesting is Unity is just sitting here at this kind of flat line ratio right around the 42, 45,000 mark. And we'll see what happens because TORUS took some serious time to actually stabilize. And then as more supply comes out, which again, in Unity, we are only at about day 57. We're about to tick over to day 58 in the next 40 minutes. And we are getting into the territory over the next week or so where more supply will be coming out, and we'll see what happens to price. It seems that people are understanding Unity differently than people understand TORUS initially because we've had time to watch TORUS play out, to understand how the staking mechanics work, to understand how the fee structure works, to see how the system performs in general, and then apply that to Unity, which is going to change Unity and make it very different than TORUS. So Unity in a nutshell right now, in its burn, it has $550,000 in its burn contracts, which means it has 200 and about 40 or so $1,000, $230,000 in its buy and burn. It has another $54,000, $55,000 in its buy and build contract. Remember, buy and burn is deleting tokens, removing supply, and pushing up the price slightly. Buy and build is buying Unity tokens, and then also pairing those tokens in liquidity to create depth in the market to make it easier and more seamless for people to interact with Unity, as well as create a more stable protocol. And we also have another $163,000 in the Fractal, which is a time vault that releases these funds back to the buy and burn every 110 days. So $550,000 in the protocol. And we are seeing a total of 128,000 Unity have only hit the market. So we're going to see a massive increase coming very soon for Unity. But what's great is we've still seen, despite that, we've still seen 63,000 Unity. So basically 1/3, actually, to be exact, we're looking at, basically literally 1/3. So 33% of all the Unity that has ever come out to this point has been burned. And that will likely decrease over time, like we're seeing in TORUS, as more tokens come out. If we go to the bottom of that little stats page here with the supply, we could click the analytics dashboard, which we're going to do in a second. Actually, we'll do it right now. And we are going to see that the supply numbers are going to tick up really about next week. First day, 10 days, we're going to have some supply coming out. In the next couple days, next 3-4 days, we're going to have another 100 or about 60,000 coming out. And we'll slowly trickle up until we get to some big days right around day 84 and up. From there, we're going to see a spike. And this is going to change a whole lot. So back to Unity for a second for the stats. We are at 1.92 billion PulseX burned in total. We have $52,000 to $53,000 in Unity staked. And Unity is looking incredibly strong. I mean, even in the temp, I'm seeing people really understanding this. And it makes me very happy to see just how many people are really understanding the long-term valuation, the long-term vision, and what's really going on here with Unity and how important this is for PulseChain as a whole. So let me just come back here for a moment because I've been kind of going on a monologue, and I'll just double check that there's no comments that I've been missing or anything under here on this post, which I haven't, which is great. And again, if anyone wants to come up and ask questions on Unity, please request the mic. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tirade on TORUS. And then when I come back, we will get into more of an AMA style space here where we can all hang out. You guys can ask me the questions and we'll hang out for another 40 or so minutes. So please don't be shy. Or if you don't want to come up on the mic, again, no pressure, but I would love to have your questions, even if you don't feel like talking publicly, because obviously recorded spaces or, people don't necessarily want to have their voices recorded or just, it's intimidating. So under the main post that I created for this space, please drop a comment if you have something specific you'd like me to cover, and I will happily get into that. So let's get into TORUS now, because Unity has just been trucking along. It's not in a phase yet where it is really getting to the tests that TORUS has faced, which makes it really easy and simple to cover because we haven't had that same volatility that we've seen with TORUS to the downside, and also all the shifting that's going on mechanically, which has been really, really cool to watch happen. And I mean, TORUS right now, like I've been saying, it really is blowing blowing me away how well it's performing. And I know you could say, okay, well, look at the price chart's down literally to 8 cents, 8.5 cents from its high of like $12 or almost $13. It's not, this is to be expected. When you have millions of tokens coming out over a short window, say 90 days or so, you're going to get volatility. And simultaneously, what's been extremely important during that time is a number of things. Now, if we go to the TORUS app, so again, TORUS.win, I'm going to go to the stats page here. We're going to start off with this. Now, we've only had about 9.8% of the total supply burned so far. But what's crazy is only a few weeks ago, our total shares in the system, meaning the total amount of people that are fighting for the TORUS pool's rewards, that was as low as about 3 point something billion shares. Now we've over 3x'd that amount. We're over 10 billion shares in the system, which means we've seen over 1.1 million TORUS staked to date, which is $95,000 worth. And that is at the price that we are at right now, which is at basically 8.5 cents. So there is a bunch of supply going to be coming out all the way to day 112, 113, 114. And then we have this 50-day window where there's going to be virtually no supply coming out relatively. And it just so happens that on day 110, the fractal, remember the time vault that releases funds back into the buy and burn every 110 days, is essentially going to double the amount of supply, or sorry, you're going to double the amount of funds that the buy and burn will have. Meaning, even at the minimum settings for that buy and burn, the daily spend is going to nearly double just because of the fractal. Right when this window is going to increase, or sorry, open up for about 40 or 50 days, there's going to be virtually no supply coming out. It's going to get very, very, very interesting. And another thing that has been blowing me away and has been really showing me that the design of this protocol is working better than I ever imagined is that when we entered our staking window, which means we entered the point price wise in ratio to Titan X, where staking became the higher ROI action to take within the system, we were sitting around 224 billion Titan X burned to that point. Now, since then, we have now burned another 36, almost 37 billion Titan X from staking alone. And we've only had a small, relatively, amount of TORUS actually staked compared to the total supply. We only have 22% of the total TORUS supply actually staked right now, with another 2.8 million, almost 2.9 million TORUS sitting liquid that could easily enter the staking pool. And if it does, you're going to see the Titan X burn get out of control in a good way. And this is the design that you'll also see happen for Unity as people begin to see supply coming out and the price tumbles a bit or stabilizes, whatever it's going to do, and people start coming into the system via staking with those tokens that they've earned. You're going to see the PulseX burn start to get absolutely cranked up, just like TORUS is seeing. And TORUS is seeing this even though the majority of supply has not been staked, which is going to push Titan X over the years ahead to crazy supply numbers in terms of how low those supply numbers can get. So let's go back though, and let's talk about the big change that just happened this morning, which is with the buy and build. Again, the last week we were talking, the buy and build, which is the liquidity building contract, had been turned up to 5%. Okay. And since then, we've seen the liquidity grow from about 55,000, 54,000 at these prices all the way up to $98,000 currently in liquidity. Now, one thing I want to stress here is the importance of building the liquidity at the price floor. Okay. Now, why do I say price floor? It's because if we look at the amount of profitability in the system from early creators and stakers, there's only so much profitability around this level. And the market has shown that we're kind of stable here, and we'll see what happens. But this seems to be a great place given that we are basically almost, 10 or 15x lower than this median ratio where creating and staking ROIs are relative to one another. So this is a perfect opportunity to inject all of the buy and builds funds at the pace that's needed at these levels. Because what happens at these levels is the funds are like a set ratio and they scale over time. So we have another, where is it here in the buy and build? We have another $125,000 in the buy and build. And it'll be counting as days go on and more staking comes in and whatnot. But at the moment, we have about $120,000 in the buy and build still. So what I was going to get to, which I need to include now, is that the buy and build has been turned up again to 8% this time. The reason why this is so important is, let's say that we get this liquidity to $200,000 at this level. Okay. This is extremely, extremely important to understand. I cannot stress this enough. And everything that I'm about to say here does apply to Unity. Okay. If and when that buy and build is used at the right time. So let's say we have $200,000 at the price point we have right now. And I'm not going to talk about USD price. I am going to only talk about the ratio that we have, which is 638,000 to 1, right? So at these levels, if we have, with the build, $200,000 in liquidity, liquidity requires for this contract to have 50% of the dollar value or 50% of the TORUS tokens, either one, depending on which way you want to read it, in TORUS tokens and 50% of the value in the pool as Titan X. When you double the amount, now in this case, because TORUS is paired with Titan X already has a price. So TORUS is getting its price from Titan X. When you double the amount of Titan X in the pool, meaning you have buy pressure, people buying TORUS in this case, when you double the amount of Titan X in the pool, you 4x the price of TORUS in this case. And so what we can do is we can say, okay, if we have 638,000 is our ratio, right? And we have $100,000 in the Titan X part of liquidity for a total of $200,000 in total liquidity. What happens is if we double this amount, we have $200,000 in Titan X and $200,000 in TORUS. But if we are to go and we are to take this 638,000 to 1 ratio and we are to multiply that by 4, remember, because the price for X's, whenever you double the amount of Titan X in the pool, we are now at 2.55 million to 1. And our liquidity has gone from $200,000 to $400,000. Now, if we take that, so now we're at a $200,000 in Titan X in the pool at 2.5 million to 1. If we now double that, right? So now we're up to $400,000. We've injected another $200,000 in Titan X into the liquidity pool, right? Now we have another 4x on our hands. And now if we multiply this, so times 4, we're at 10.2 million. And our liquidity has gone from $200,000 to $400,000 to now $800,000. And we're still below the median ratio of the system. And this is all assuming Titan X does not go up in value, dragging TORUS up with it, which means if we get, let's say, $800,000 in value and we're just below our median ratio of 10.2 million to 1, we have $800,000 in the pool. If Titan X does a 2x and we follow, which we will have $1.6 million in liquidity. If Titan X does a 10x, we get $8 million in liquidity, assuming we stick to the ratio that we started at, and on and on and on. So injecting the liquidity here at these prices is the most critical possible thing we could do to create the floor for liquidity that will scale over time. Is this making sense to everyone? I hope this is, because this is one of the most important things for people to understand for the stability and the growth of TORUS and Unity as we go into the future. If we get the liquidity right, we are set up in such a way that will propel us so far into the future for stability, for adoption, for success. It's paramount that this happens in the way that it does. So that being said, that is why the buy and build was turned up to 8%, because now is the time for TORUS to inject that liquidity, to get this protocol operating robust and with massive amounts of depth and liquidity for stability. And then we just so happen to go into a 40 or 50-day window where there is literally no supply coming out and the buy and burn doubles. What do you think could happen then? Just let you sit with that for a moment. And while you're doing that, this is the point where I want to invite everyone or anyone that would like to come up and hang out, ask some questions. Now is the chance. We're about halfway through the time that I have today, and I would really love to have people coming up and hanging out, asking some great questions, as you guys always do. So while you guys are deciding, I'm just going to start inviting some of you up here. I see a lot of great humans listening in. So I'm just going to start inviting. And if you'd like to, please come up. No pressure, but the invite is there and would love to have you. Let's see here. Sweet. And I see Weapon has just joined. Weapon had given you an invite as well. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to have a quick sip of coffee and we'll get back to it. Also, if you're enjoying this space, you're excited about Unity, you're excited about TORUS, please share the space. Please tag someone that you think should come and check this out, should re-listen to the replay, or just take a look at TORUS and UNITY. There's so much to learn with these systems. They are on the cutting edge of all the concepts that have been utilized in many different protocols coming under one roof. And then having two separate protocols operating on two different blockchains and seeing how they perform with two different communities, two different tokens that they're burning and leveraging. And it's just such a fun time because we have such an amazing community as well. So let me see what else is going on here. So let me see. Over the next few days, cumulative supply for TORUS, we are on day 96. So if we go to day 97 here, and let's see, we're going to go from day 97. So we're going to scale from 5.2 million all the way up to about, where is it here? Where's day 110? We're going to have another 2 million tokens coming onto the market up to day 110. It's going to be very, very interesting as we'll see if people decide to stake, if they decide to sell, and who is in it for the long haul. Now, we're in a very, very, what's the word here? We're in the precipice of a lot in this market. You know, we had this big crash that happened a few days ago, wiped out a ton of market cap and quotations. And I don't know about you guys. I would actually, Penny, I don't know if you have thoughts on what this is. I feel like you're far more educated in the macro side and would love to get your analysis on what the hell happened. Because I was only watching it from a distance, and I haven't dug my nails in yet and really sunk my teeth in yet, so to speak, and seen what was actually beneath the surface there. So if you're able to, would love to have your analysis. We'll send you an invite. There we go. Yeah, nice, Penny. Right on.
All right, can you hear me?
I'm clear, brother. How you doing?
Oh, doing good, man. Hold on, let me put my headphones on.
Good.
All right. Yeah, what a crazy weekend. I think I mean, have you really gone into diving into like what actually happened with like all the exchanges and the market makers and
Not
all
at
that
all.
stuff?
I've been tied up on my end with some other stuff, and I haven't had a chance to sink in. So, man, go ham. Take all the time you want.
Ye- Yeah, so apparently what happened, and I'm not an expert at this whatsoever, but from what I've been hearing is you have a lot of people that had like 2 to 3x leverage on positions all across the board. And a lot of people had a setting on the exchanges set to like collateralize their whole stack. instead of just what they were trading with. So like let's say you had like a $10,000 Bitcoin position, right? And you have a 2 to 3x leverage on your Bitcoin position, but you had another $1 million worth of other projects on that exchange. And there's a setting, I guess, to where you can collateralize your other bags to use for leverage. And so let's say that you get there's a 20 to 30% drop on that altcoin that you have, and it flies through that position, but you owe the exchange more money because it keeps going. Well, I guess this setting that a lot of people had on allowed all their other positions to get liquidated to make up for that loss. And then there's also some conspiracy on a lot of market makers did not pick up the liquidity, I guess. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this, but that's what I've heard. Where essentially market makers allowed it to happen, and it wiped everybody out. And even people's stop losses didn't even work on some of the exchanges. So you could have been completely safe where you thought you were completely safe and you had your stop losses set at a certain level, but the wipeout was so quick and so extreme that it ripped through the stop losses, completely liquidating people's like full positions that they hadn't even put up in a trade. So it was absolutely devastating. And a lot of these exchanges, like, you know, don't even know what to say. And I think that there's a lot of manipulation and a lot of, a lot of fraudulent shit going on, in my opinion. I mean, we know how exchanges work. I mean, that's how they make money is liquidating positions. So, um, I think on the macro side, we're obviously kind of going into a potential upswing in the market, and that's what market makers do. They wipe everybody out before we make another leg up. So it's pretty sad. A lot of people lost everything.
Yeah, it really is, especially like you said, the amount of manipulation. There's games being played there. There's no way there wasn't. There was intentionality behind that to at least some degree. Um, and to what you were pointing to as well about the macro and wiping people up for the next leg up. I mean, if you go look at the Bitcoin heat map, you could literally watch the price dance around all the shorts and the longs and go all the way down, clear the longs, clear the shorts, and then go up, clear the longs, clear the shorts, and go up. And so, if there's a massive amount of liquidity on these, or I guess leverage points, where the liquidity can go and just wipe out everybody essentially, and the amount of money I'm sure they made off that was probably massive. Unfortunately, this was probably what was in quotations needed. And I say in quotations because for the market makers to start allowing price to start moving again, needed a big move like this. And I feel as though this was the move that you know needed to happen in its own way. Not needed. I wish it didn't happen, but needed to happen so that way we could actually be free and go. Because the market makers, like you're saying, are constantly um, suppressing, moving things how they want. And this feels like the crash, like, not the crash, but it's like the crash that was needed. So that way now it's like time to go higher again. And what do you think, Penny? Do you think that this event is going to potentially be the catalyst for us to actually begin to roll um, into the bull run that everyone's kind of expecting now that everyone's wrecked and liquidated and thinking it's over? And um, what are your thoughts there?
Um, I mean, it's hard to say yes or no, but I would think just based on, because like when you pay attention to the macro, it takes care of the micro, right? And so macro wise, we are going into a season where liquidity is going to be rising. Um, Obviously, we're going into a rate cutting cycle. Um, so like, yeah, I would think so because you're taking and if you study like everyone that got wiped out, right? A lot of these people a lot of these people had 2 to 3x leverage on all their bags because a lot of people want to get out of this market. Like a lot of people want to get profits and they want to go because they think it's about to be over. And so what that tells you is you have a lot of potential people that we're going to sell pretty damn soon. They're wiped out, they're gone. So when you take away billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of sell pressure, um, then what's left? You have people that actually believe in a longer term cycle, or they at least believe that we're about to go into a bull run. Because if you're still holding at this point, you're not a bear, you're a bull, right? And so um yeah, I think it definitely can be the catalyst that is wiping out a lot of sell pressure. And you still have a ton of money on the sideline, man. You still have, I think it's like $4 to $5 trillion in money market funds right now. And when those rates go lower, when those Fed rates start to lower, that liquidity is going to go more risk on because they're not going to be able to just park their money and get 4 to 5% in these money market funds. So they're going to start to go down the risk curve and they're going to start to come into the crypto markets. And so I believe that on the macro points to, yeah, I mean, we're gonna go higher, but it's hard to say yes or no. But I mean, if I were to make a bet, and that's all what we're all doing in crypto, we're betting with our capital. I would bet that we are about to go higher.
Right. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, you can't really say yes or no to that. It's a weird question in that sense. I'm not really trying to get you to tell me about the future, but it's more I just like hearing your thoughts because you're very educated on the macro side and you understand the market very, very, very well. So I appreciate you saying all that, getting your thoughts as always. When Oh my god, I just lost my freaking train of thought. I love when that happens. What I'm going to do while I'm trying to remember what the hell I was just going to say is I see a few more names joining in. I see Andy, I see Crypto Ethos, I see Unity is dank. I'm going to invite you guys to come up as well. And while I'm trying to remember what the hell I was going to say, Penny, I'm so sorry. I'm going to answer this question real quick. Someone asked, I think you should consider deploying a version of TORUS for Zen. I wouldn't have said that in the past, but I think that's a good idea right now. X1 came out. Its market cap is so low that even with inflation, it can 10x easily. Ideally, you'd set it up so it's all buy and build. I appreciate the idea. And I had thought about actually, okay, what could I do with something like TORUS and Unity? Could we launch on other platforms and simultaneously, you know, that's a lot to manage from a community standpoint. It's a lot to manage, um, especially like when the bull really starts to kick off and there's a lot more hype and there's a lot more reason to really escalate the marketing and really be putting out content like crazy. Imagine having TORUS content, Unity content, and something else, and trying to manage the communities. And it's just so much. And it's not that so much is bad. It's just so much can be a disservice to what's already been created. And I care so much about TORUS and Unity that I do not want to do anything that's going to be a disservice to them. you know and if someday it makes sense to do something like that, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Like, I'm open, as you guys know, I'm a pretty open human, but I also know where I'm at, and really feel strongly that right now we're good. So Penny, you got your hand up.
Yeah, so I actually kind of want to ask you a question about that. So what I think makes Taurus so powerful is the fact that it's built on top of a fully deflationary asset uh, with Titan X. Um, I think it's what makes the ratio so powerful as well, and the liquidity. Um, with something like Zen that has pretty much the opposite tokenomics. I mean, it's probably the most inflationary token in all of crypto. Um, how do you think that would work, as in like value wise?
You mean just like over time, how is it going to work? How's the system going to perform? How's it going to feed into, let's say, the token of X1 or whichever token it's going to be built on?
Yeah, well, it was more so with Zen, with Zen having such an inflationary aspect because you can literally there's just too much supply. There's so much supply, and so much supply can be made with very low amount of economical energy if gas is low.
Right. Yeah, it's not I mean, the thing is this system can still perform well. Like, if you just think about a moving floor, so to speak, where the price when the price goes high, it wants to return down to it, when the price goes low, it wants to return up to it. Um, it can still perform well on something like I mean, I had originally thought about putting Unity on like Hex or Ink, right? And those are inflationary coins. Now, different degrees of inflation, obviously. But it does change the dynamics because one of the most powerful feedback loops of these systems is the exponential rise in deflationary power that it brings to, let's say, TIX for Torus and PulseX for Unity. So if you are, it would still work, but if you have something that, like you said, can be just created pretty freely for the most part, and I don't know Zen very well at all. So you know, with that much inflation, with any sort of like regular inflation coming out, um, it doesn't have the same feedback loop. It doesn't. It kind of acts as more of a supply control mechanism versus something that eventually becomes a powerful catalyst into the future. But I mean, technically speaking, it could still work. It would just have a different level of potency and serve um, a bit of a different role, so to speak. And I mean, maybe something like the system could be adapted to something like that to compensate for an inflationary supply that is trying to deflate. I mean, the system's very uh, you can easily change one or two dynamics systemically, percentage wise, uh, and create a very, very different internal structure that has a different way of working with um, a token, its supply, and also scaling over time. So there's lots that can be done, but the system as it sits for Torus and Unity, they're not really great for that type of token, I would say.
Got it. Yeah, makes complete sense.
Yeah, I mean, man, I would. It'd be cool to see what kind of what you could really do on other things, but maybe we'll cross that bridge in the future. But right now, like you said, they're so powerful, and it's already just there's just so much going on that having another token, my God, is just a lot. It would be quite a bit to manage. So, um, very, very, very happy with both Taurus and Unity at the moment, and we'll see what happens though. We'll see. You never know. I like. There's the thing is too is there's so much that needs to happen for Taurus and Unity in terms of infrastructure that, I personally want to see that thinking about scaling another protocol out kind of doesn't really make sense at this time. It's like seems like a waste of attention and energy. And I would really want to see the infrastructure be built to support Taurus and Unity. If these tokens are ever complete in the sense of like I feel like an ecosystem is built and I'm happy with everything that's there, and there's nothing else that I think really needs to be put in place, then maybe the conversation comes out of okay, well, what about these other chains, so to speak. So I think it's really the only thing I can say on that front. Um, did you put your hand up again? Did it just my whole thing just reset, I think.
No, I think it just reset.
Gotcha. Cool, cool, cool. Great. Well, let me see who's all here, guys. If you want to come up and ask any questions, please do. I'm going to quickly just double check to see if any more questions came in the post, and I'll invite a couple more people. Penny, what are you seeing right now? Or is there anything that you're really paying attention to, either in Unity or in Taurus, that's um, either surprising you, or is something playing out differently than you expected that you're seeing since more supply is coming out, since the buy and build's been turned up? Anything you've been seeing?
Yeah, just absolutely how powerful the staking aspect is for Titan X. I mean, you're talking about like if like right now, and I don't have the DApp in front of me, but if like let's say you made $1,000 spot buy right now at Taurus, I don't even know how much torus that gets you because, like I said, I'm not in front of my computer. And then you want to stake that. The amount of Titan X that you have to buy off market and then infuse into the system that trickles into the buy and burns and the buy and builds and the fractal, like that, it's a massive amount. It's a lot. And and the dope thing is you didn't create it to where it's like someone makes that buy and they stake and then it's done for like 5 to 10 years like other protocols. Like if you want to do that every 88 days, like it's a lot of supply that's going to continue to be eaten up and continue to be infused into the system. It's just pretty powerful, man. I'm like really, really, really impressed by it. And I've been tracking the numbers, and it's kind of mind blowing, honestly. And like how like if this sustains over like the next couple years or like another cycle or two, like it's going to eat up a lot of Titan X.
To a point where people actually don't realize how much. I don't know if anyone's actually done. I don't know. Have you done any math around how things scale over time, Penny?
I haven't. I'm not really a math guy, so that's not really my forte, but I just kind of just more of like a broad realization on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I hear that. If you ever do get around to it, it's not super. It's not crazy complex to do the math. But yeah, it is a little bit. But man, when you start to look at those numbers, it's pretty wild. And there's some interesting dynamics that start to evolve and change into the future as things get more expensive, as supply numbers change. There's there's a very how do I say this without saying too much? There's a change that happens in the future, and this gets to a point where people, well, the system will be different. Let's say, and the people who have the tokens will be very happy that they have the tokens. Um, but I invite people to do the math and really look into the future to see what I'm talking about and what I'm referring to here. But let me go to Unity is dank. What's up, my brother?
Not much, just reflecting on this past conversation about building on a deflationary system versus an inflationary system. So we can agree that building a deflationary protocol on a deflationary asset is just the more reasonable approach for sustainability for growth, correct?
I would say yeah, within reason and without really like trying to make it work. Yeah, as like a general overarching statement, yeah, for sure, much easier.
Okay, that's it. I just wanted, people to reflect on this simple idea. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And like it's cool to go there and play the thought games of like, okay, well, how could you make it you could make it work with an inflationary token. It would take a lot of tweaking, but the power of deflationary on deflationary, especially when, participation in this protocol that we're talking about is a direct reflection of deflation in the primary token. In this case, let's say Titan X or PulseX. I mean, it's just like the most monster feedback loops you could possibly have when you have deflation on deflation. When you go deflation on inflation, then it's just mitigated. You mitigate the feedback loops that can possibly happen, and the exponentiality of how these systems can perform over time. And so I appreciate you bringing this up because it's really important to be echoed and for people to understand that these systems with the deflationary on deflationary can get wild and they scale over time, nice and slow. But then it's like all of a sudden, as PulseX or Titan X starts doing something, and as the supply gets to a point where it's quite large and participation spikes, there's going to be these systemic or these feedback loops that are going to kick into high gear, and it's people will realize, oh shit, okay, I get it. But obviously, these are abstract concepts, and it's hard to really like visualize this without flowcharts and all this stuff. So just keep planting those seeds. But I appreciate your comments on that because it's very important for people to understand that.
And just to add to that, you know, program demand's been popping up as terminology, and that's how it happens is really this deflation on deflation. How you talked about you can build a deflation on inflation, and that's like neutral, which is exactly right. And then you're dependent on market sentiments, which is nothing but human emotions. So so it's a gamble at that point is all it is.
Yeah, and you're talking about for the deflation on inflation, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, that's the neutral aspect to it. Creating deflation on deflation, you're still going to get market sentiments over time, but over time, you're going to have something that's just buying up the supply regardless of sentiment.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what you could actually do is if you made TORUS or UNITY like another sister protocol for an inflation. I'm just going to spitball here because this is cool. I hadn't thought about this before, but it's like, how could you do that? And here's, I think, how in a nutshell, how I think you could is instead of having a declining amount of tokens on a daily basis, you could do that, but you would do it over a longer period of time. So instead of it being 0.08%, maybe you do it like 0.04%, declining amount of tokens from the pool, but have the difficulty still scaling. So for staking and all that, the difficulty is still going up quicker, which means like it's the system is requiring more and more and more of this token you're building on that's inflationary over time on a exponential scale, yet the amount of tokens that are coming out are staying static or more static. Let's say it's still dynamically like lowering, but it's not as quickly decreasing, which means your supply is going to be larger, but your incentive is going to still stay high. And you're going to be able to essentially compensate instead of it being net neutral. It actually could be net positive. And maybe you could do something like an ink inflation where it's just static. If you're building something on like a hyperinflationary token, maybe you just have it static. I don't know. That could be an interesting thought process of doing something to compensate for inflationary, which I hadn't thought of before. But yeah, I saw you open your mic. Go for it if you got something you want to bring, because I'm just spitballing right now.
Well, that just made me think of stablecoin and yield in stablecoin if you wanted to do a protocol like that.
What do you mean? Say more.
Well, if it's a neutral effect, and you're talking, it can go either way. You could, there's got to be a way to make that just hit a solid, stable price, and then use the rest for yield. Anything that goes, any economic energy that pushes it above $1, that could be yield. So
I see what you're saying. Okay, gotcha. So when we say neutral, neutral does not necessarily mean stable price. It means inflation control, right? So when we're talking about inflation control, that means that you're not having like the inflation is not having the potential negative effect that it could have because of the deflationary nature of these systems that is helping control the supply, which means that it's still positive, whereas like price action can still move around and you're not going to necessarily be held down by as much inflation. You have a market to basically, you have some sort of market helping push up, deflate, um, allow the token to move freely to the upside. It just doesn't have that like same amplification that we could see from TORUS and UNITY. It's different, but having something like making it more like a stable coin, that would be something that would, I mean, if you have something that is incredibly inflationary, and maybe you could design something like that, but I don't think that's really, I don't think that'd be the best use of this system. I think the best use of this system is to um, create price action for the
no,
token it's built on.
no, I'm saying only on no, I'm saying for a use case for the
Oh,
deflation on inflation, not unity. We were yeah, I'm saying if you
gotcha.
if a reason to even build a deflation on inflation, like you said, you had that control, you had a little bit of a control, that means you can manipulate economic energy to flow into a stable coin. So
I see what you're saying. You mean like with the funds coming in, essentially,
correct.
right? Yeah, this is an interesting one. So many things that you can do with this system, which is why I'm so excited about it, because this is kind of like Gen 1. It's like the first Game Boy. That's kind of a funny way of putting that. But like really this system can only get better from here, which is crazy to say. It can only be you know, perfected even beyond what we have right now. Penny, go ahead. I see your hand up. And then Amir, I want to come to you as well.
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing about Taurus that I'm seeing so far is one, I mean, Titan X, bro. I mean, we're at like our bottom again. You know what I mean? And the fact that we still have the amount of funds that we do in the platform, I just imagine when Titan X goes on a run. You know what I mean? Like we do a 3 to 5x from here. I mean, you're looking at a 1.3, $1.5 million, if not more, in that buy and burn. And so, but like the most powerful thing that I'm seeing is because obviously we've seen other protocols in this ecosystem pull in a lot of Titan X, right? I mean, you have Hydra right now; it still has like $500,000 worth in the buy and burn, but Hydra has not been able to continue to replenish that because there's no incentive for any economical energy to come into that system while prices are low. Taurus has changed that because Taurus is at its low right now, but we're still pumping in Titan X because of the staking aspect. And so it's created a sustainable drip of economical energy of a deflationary input token even at its low. We haven't seen that been done yet in this ecosystem, and that's super powerful. Yeah, so I'm just kind of seeing that right now, and it's really interesting because no one's been able to solve that yet, right? I mean, look at all the protocols that Titan X has had, that a ton of Titan X's came in into its buy and burn. That's all good and dandy, but when the price is low, just interaction has just halted for all these protocols, where it's almost increased with Taurus because the staking is like, why would you not want to get 300, 500, 1,000% on your tokens while you're just sitting at the bottom? Like, it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. And that's what this will get to in the future, is being that like yield machine where people can come in, like they have their Titan X, they have their ETH, they be like, okay, I want 6, 7, 8, 10% in 88 days, whatever it's going to be. And they come to that, or then they come to this protocol. And with the staking, I'm really curious, as the price comes up, because right now I think a lot of people are tentative about selling, and there has been a lot of people that are coming in with fresh powder, which has been great. Because I mean, we've had nearly 100 billion Titan X worth submitted since we started staking. So the protocol's brought in 100 billion Titan X, um, even at its most extreme lows, where it's most expensive. That's the whole way down and down here and everything. But still, most of that's come in around these lows. So as we go up a little bit higher, I'm really curious too, if people are looking to, use their Taurus to come back in, how much this is going to pull in as the price just comes up in general for Taurus, and the relative dollar value to what people are staking also changes in favor of Taurus, or Titan X lowering. I'm curious how many people are going to use dry powder and be willing to do that, or to basically enter the system as well. I don't, and this is the thing too. These are the first time these systems have been done. So it's going to be super interesting to see just how effective they are at these lows. Um, and if they really can create that sustainable future, that, like you said, other protocols just don't have the ability to do because of the nature of them, so it's going to be super interesting to see. And, as we go into day 110, having so many funds come into the buy and burn and so little supply coming out, I mean, we could really start to see that dynamic start to play out and really see how the system works. Because, I mean, right now we're at the lows, the absolute lows. And so when we start coming up a little bit and incentive starts to increase a little bit more to come in the system, even for staking, that's when I think we'll see that when we see that first round trip of like we come all the way down, create a floor, and start to come back up again. That's when we're going to get that full first idea of just how powerful the system can be to help itself survive. And man, it makes me super, super bullish. And I'm excited to see for Unity as well, how this is going to play out, because Unity is a very different animal. The market is very different. Already people are participating very different because they've learned so much about Taurus. So it's I love where we're at, and I love where we're going. It's the next 50, 60 days, actually maybe even 70 days, we'll say a couple months. Next couple months are going to be very, very, very exciting. So, man, I just can't wait. Let me go to Amir real quick because Amir has been hanging out. What's up, brother? Good to see you in here, man. It's been a minute.
GM, can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear, bro.
Sweet, dude. No, just been cool observing the environment post day 89 and all that. Good to hear from you. Good to see you. Dude, man, it's gonna be awesome when the fractal uh gets dropped into the buy and burn.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the most exciting things coming for TORUS, and it just it worked out perfectly to have the participation level out, so there's no supply coming out really post day like 114. You know, man,
Ratio's holding really good, man.
seriously, it's like having the floor happen. And honestly, I hope people are understanding that the floor, like the prices that we have right now to get ourselves set up, is a gift. Such a gift. I know you know liquidity very, very well. I don't know if you want to talk about the importance of liquidity at these levels and getting ourselves set up, but man, like we could not have a better setup right now to start injecting that liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, you picked a really good time to do it. I thought this would be a good time to start to use it. I was wondering if you would. I know previously you like to speak about having the prices higher before deploying some liquidity. Um, so maybe there's another phase to that at another point in time. No expectations here, but in general, man, it was really cool to see. Um, it certainly changes my strategy with how I want to do things, seeing how the market's behaving with the inflation on the horizon, kind of how people are gonna bigger players, small players, how they're gonna react. I'm very happy with all of my short-term creates, all of my post day 89 creates. Take some of that profit, put them into stakes, take some of that profit, put it into LP, and take some and put it into other bets I want to make in the market. So it's Taurus has done everything and more. So it's a very good tool. So thank you, graphics.
Man, my pleasure. Yeah, and I'll talk quickly about the comment you said about keeping liquidity high. Now, again, that was when I was talking about, liquidity being in a range. My expectation was specifically that the price would come and stabilize just below that median ratio. Now, obviously, you think one way, you hope it does one thing, it does another, it goes really, really low. Okay, well, you don't want to put it in the middle, right? Because if we're going to go down, you and I and everyone here knows about impermanent loss to the downside for something like this. We don't want a permanent loss to the downside. And permanent loss to the upside is okay because we're still gaining tight necks, right? We don't care about the value of Taurus so much in that pool, but we're trying to stack tight necks in there. And so as I saw the ratio dropping, I was realizing, okay, it's time to shift my perspective. I need to wait. It was wait for the bottom. And bottom started to come up or started to happen, and started doing the math on, okay, how is our liquidity going to scale at these levels? And here we are. So it was just an adaptation that was needed to, really preserve the protocol, because my expectation was that the protocol or the ratio would not go below, like, I don't know, a million or two or three. That was my thought. And as it kept going, it was like, okay, we got to wait. We got to wait. Because I thought the price floor would start there, but we didn't see it.
Yeah, fair enough, dude. I've been keeping an eye on how certain volumes of coins or tokens getting into the market would affect the price. And I had ever since the very tippy top, I had this kind of mapped out range down of like different tight next ratios with Taurus, just assuming worst case scenarios. And it followed to a T up until day 89. There's a lot of resistance to pushing that ratio down further, and people, whether they can appreciate it now or later, but that day 89 inflation is never going to come back again. You're already seeing the that wave two of 88-day inflation like already mounting out, and those days are probably going to end up only being like sub 500K days, probably 300K days. It's going to get pretty crazy out here. The ratio is going to hold really well, and I think people are going to start. It's going to be a good wind up, once people start to realize that like there isn't as much supply to drop, and the ROIs are staying where they're at. There's always meat on the bone. You can't stake what's not in your wallet. So I'm surprised at the holding levels. Honestly, I would be, whether it's a sign of like, hey, we're not going to dump on you, or it's, I'm surprised there's as much liquid being held at the moment, honestly. Um, but I'm sure that ratio will change over time.
Yeah, that's been an interesting thing to watch, is how much is being held in liquid. Really curious if the price starts to go up. If that changes, stays the same. So many interesting little interdynamics happening within the system to watch now that things have kind of come to their lows and they're starting to develop, grow. It's really freaking cool. Appreciate you, man. I'm going to go to Master D real quick and just check it with him, because I do got to go here pretty quick. But great to hear from you. Thank you, man. I appreciate your thoughts as always. Master D, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Hey, for maybe 20 minutes now, I still don't understand what's going on. They just kind of dumb it down for me real fast, like 5 point, summary. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I'm listening to you. If you have, please, whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm just trying to what is it that you're presenting? Like, I've been listening for 15 minutes and nothing makes sense.
That's totally fine. Honestly, this space is totally fine in the sense of the context of this space was supposed to be for those that are still that are in the community, that understand the protocols. Is more of a community space.
Okay.
So I'm happy though to talk about what's going on here, because I didn't mention once, especially the last while we've been talking about some quite abstract and advanced mechanics in the system specifically. So I can totally understand why you're not following. Let me give you the 5-minute or less spiel of what's happening here. So we have two protocols. One is on Ethereum. One is on PulseChain, fork of Ethereum. These protocols are designed the same, but they leverage two different tokens. So how this system works is the first of its kind. Now, the easiest way to think about this is like a company. Imagine like a company like Amazon, okay, where you can go direct to the company, or you can buy off the market shares for Amazon. Amazon's going to give you a fixed price that's going to go up a little bit every single day. The market's going to fluctuate. If you decide to purchase direct through Amazon, what's going to happen is you're going to have to lock up your shares for up to 88 days. And when you do that, over the course of 88 days, you're going to earn more shares. So you buy shares from the company, and while you wait, you earn more shares. That's the first part of the company. The second part is when your first initial lock is done, right? Then you are able to take your shares again and lock them back up to keep earning. Now, you have to pay to play, so to speak, to keep locking up your shares with this company over time. But the funds that you deposit go towards supporting the company, and the company is designed to go up in value, and the shares are designed to become more and more difficult over time to acquire, meaning that getting in early and getting in on what the company is doing is extremely important, because in the future, shares are going to be extremely scarce. So this company that I'm talking about is the design of TORUS and UNITY. And that's really what we're doing here. It allows you to be able to, when the prices are up, to compound your bag and maximize the growth of your bag the fastest. And when the price goes down and times are slower, the times go a little more bearish, you're not stuck holding the bag, because you can use your tokens as shares to go back into the system and bring yourself into either a positive ROI or more of a positive ROI, regardless of what the market's doing. And there is no protocol out there quite like TORUS or UNITY. And because they're built on tokens that have deflating token supplies, and these systems help to deflate those existing token supplies, they create positive catalysts that have not been, or they're designed to create positive catalysts that have not been seen anywhere in DeFi before. And we'll see this play out for the first time really in this coming bull run here. So hopefully, you give me your feedback. That's the overarching, very basic premise of what we're doing here. And the one thing I do want to say is there is so much going on under the surface that I would really recommend spending time reading the white papers, understanding each one of the mechanics, because all of this is pushing the envelope of all these concepts that have been done before but never under one roof. And so it's a lot of advanced mechanics and ideas under one roof. So really take your time with it and let me know if that actually did make sense. I hope it did.
Yes, that a little bit. I did a little bit. But what I'll do is I'll go to is it TORUS.win where I can read the white paper?
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
All
If you
right.
go just to TORUS.win, with not in the DApp, or you can go to the DApp too, and you can see the docs at the bottom of the DApp, or you'll see the read white paper button right on the front page there. And the other one is UNITY.win as well, where you can read the white paper for that one as well. The same systems built on different tokens on different chains.
Okay. Okay. That does explain a little bit. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for your question. I appreciate that because it's always great to have a nice summary of really what's going on here for these spaces for anyone listening back. So I appreciate you coming on and asking that so I could give a nice little elevator pitch. Mr. Ethos, I see you. Welcome. Good to have you.
Hey, brother. How you hanging in, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing very well, thanks. What about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I know you got to get going on a personal note. I've been just launching a couple different businesses all at the same time and kind of went from, kind of things going crazy to things going in completely in hyperspeed. So I haven't been really available in the crypto space too much lately. But it seems like everything is going really, really well, man. Dude, congratulations. Seriously, I've said it a couple times to you, man, but hats off to you for creating such a cool product, which leads me to my real basic question, man. I kind of just put it on, it was sort of put on my heart to kind of bring it back to basics. Just real quick, it was, dude, really, and this would be great for the last guy that asked his question. What really prompted you, like honestly, to create Unity and Taurus? What was it that, kind of take away from the technical space for a minute, about what we might have needed? What more was it?
Yeah, thanks for this question. So aside from like the mechanics of it all, like there's one thing to build something, the other thing to actually put it out there. And the putting it out there and actually building it is where the answer comes from in this. The design was one thing, creating it and seeing all that was like, oh wow, there's something here. But realizing that this tool could serve a much larger role than potentially anything created before it was the reason why. And its role is to allow those that get in early. It's designed to create whales, not feed them. Simply put, it's designed to allow those that get in early to get in on something that will scale perpetually over time and create abundance, to allow people to change their lives, help others change, or help change others' lives, and really just cause an energetic shift in the world, so to speak, where those who are getting in early, that are here, that are seeing this, that are seeing the numerology, seeing the logos, being a part of the community, really being in it for the long haul, are really able to benefit from this design. This is designed to help and change things and be a very, very, very powerful tool for everyone involved for years and years and years to come, and get in before institutions, whales, and all these players that are typically the ones that control the supply. But right now, the people that are getting in, the people that are early, the people that are accumulating and staking and participating are the ones who will control the lion's share of supply in the future and control the power over the system. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so this is really one of the first of its kinds that has allowed people to get in on a system like that, designed to scale to the institutional level as well. And I would say that's really it. And it comes down to really wanting people to have an opportunity to change their lives and others as well, and create a huge impact on the world.
Love that, dude. So with that being said, the word Ponzi, right, is a big word in crypto, and really, in my opinion, in pretty much all financial standings, as far as I'm concerned. I look at, traditional finance, TradFi, and I just, it's Ponzi everywhere, right? The dollar, perfect Ponzi. It's like the biggest Ponzi scheme ever. So I think the word is overall, it's overall played out. It's almost the norm, right? Unfortunately. And you look at particles like this and you kind of go, okay, you're right. Like you said, the guys that get in earlier, right? It's like Ponzi, 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 right? And I'll bring this up because I've seen a lot of people comment on this kind of stuff with really all crypto, but also with Unity and TORUS. I'm a big fan, obviously. I love the protocol. I don't see it that way. I've done my own research. One thing that is different, and I want you to just kind of touch on this, is from what I understand and from what I'm seeing, sure it would move slower, but in a Ponzi, you need to constantly have more people to stack. And I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see that in the mechanics. I mean, technically, if everybody just stopped buying today, like nobody else bought in, because of the way that it's designed, it still would continue on. And a lot of that, and kind of the second part of the question is for instance, Unity, and just like Taurus is bound to Ethereum, just like Unity is bound to PulseX. How much is PulseX's success in Unity as a derivative to what Unity does, and how it sort of separates itself from a Ponzi?
Yeah, great questions. So first question, point A in the question was, how is it, I guess, how is it different from, how is it sustainable long term when people are not participating? I mean, there's levels to it, right? You've got your incentive structure, you've got the buy and burns and the buy and builds and the funds that are within the protocol, and those can last for hundreds of days when they're set to their minimum. And so even if people just stop participating, you know, that can really only happen for so long because of, as the funds that are in the protocol are used even slowly, if people stop buying, stop selling, people just don't do anything for a while, prices being pushed up by the buy contracts are going to cause increased incentivization, even if it's only 5 or 10%. But we all know how hungry people are for a handful of percent here, a handful of percent there. And so anytime someone wants to chase that percent, they must deposit more funds. And because they deposit more funds, they also increase the sustainability of the protocol as well by allowing those buy contracts to buy its own token up. Now, sorry, remind me the second part of the question again. It was to do with the remind me again, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was more or less how it's correlated to both Ethereum
Right.
and PulseX and how it offsets it.
Right. Thank you. Yes. So now these protocols are designed to perform at their highest when ETH and Titan X for Taurus and when Pulse and PulseX for Unity are performing their best. Obviously, leverage is leverage, right? Like when when PulseX goes up, it's going to drag up Unity. When Titan X performs, it's going to increase the value of Taurus. So for maximum performance, you're gonna want to see it's pivotal that PulseX and Titan X perform. Now, that being said, though, the way that these protocols are designed is to absorb the supply of PulseX and Titan X in such a way that it will cause and become its own catalyst into the future for some relative amount of success for both PulseX and Titan X. Now, on a chain level, I wouldn't be so bold as to say that it could really affect the chain as a whole. That's a pretty bold statement. But when you measure out in time how the difficulty scales and how the burn rate increases and all those mathematical pieces that play out over time, they really create their own success in a way. Especially as you get something that has massive liquidity, market depth, ability to trade. It's attractive to bigger players. It doesn't look so infantile, or it doesn't look so unstable. It's more appealing, which brings in or draws in more eyes. Everything is designed to feed into itself, which, even if Titan X and PulseX don't perform crazy or crazy well, these protocols are designed to force it to do something, even if it's a little bit, but if it performs its maximum, I mean, the feedback loops are off the charts. It's like nothing anyone's ever seen before. And if it performs very well, I mean, look out. It's going to be just obnoxious, you know, on its high end.
Beauty. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Thanks for your questions. They're always great. And I'm glad to hear you're doing well. And all the best of luck on your businesses.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. I'm going to be busy for the next 3-4 months for sure. So
I bet. Awesome. On that note, guys, I got to hit the road. I got to start running here. Thank you, everyone, for another fantastic space. I appreciate all of you from Penny, Crypto Ethos, Unity's Dank, Master. We also had Amir up here as well. And thank you to everyone who was listening. Really appreciate you all. You know, these protocols are nothing without all of us here together. And it always amazes me to have such quality humans here all the time, watching this, hanging out together, you know, in this for the long haul. So I appreciate each and every one of you from being here. If you haven't already, make sure you are you do go and post or repost this space. And yeah, let's get excited. The age of Taurus is going so much better than I ever could have imagined. And the age of Unity is just getting warmed up as well. So thanks, everyone. Have an incredible Tuesday. And we will hang out again very soon. Peace.
Thank you. All right.